I'm recording this blog in the backyard of our brand new home because I thought it would be a great venue, having nature and beauty all around as we talk about this lovely topic of victim. Okay, what a horrible word. Nobody wants to be called a victim or think of themselves that way. And some of us have actively resisted this whole idea that in any way, shape, or form we're a victim. But the truth is, what we're not wanting to look at sometimes, like our shadow side, can be a really important thing in our lives. So let's start with a definition. Well, we've got the legal definitions of people, obviously being a victim of crime. And there's lots of different kinds of crime. But there's a range all the way through from that kind of victim to just feeling hard done by, not appreciated. And that, for me, also has elements of victim. And so for me, the working definition is really, do I feel any degree of helplessness, hopelessness, or powerlessness? Those are the underpinning emotions of what I consider victim. So where does that all start? Where do we get a feeling of helplessness from? Well, let's go back. It starts very early. Think of the young baby who's in this massive learning curve, taking information in, learning about their environment. Anything that shocks their system, startles them, gives them a feeling of insecurity is going to be logged in their nervous system because they want to pay attention and avoid those things if possible. So the system is a learning system amassing huge amounts of data, and along the way they're going to be taking note of any time that the baby feels helpless, hopeless, or powerless, which, as you can imagine, is pretty easy when you're that young. So I want to talk about myself, for example. As a newborn, I was given up by my birth parents for adoption. So obviously, that had to be a very big shock to my system. Regardless of the right decision for my birth parents, there would still be a lot of emotion attached to that. And I was immersed in all that emotion of the conflict, the pain, the anguish, whatever was involved. So my little system absorbed that, and I picked up a sensitivity, which makes a lot of sense, to being left out, to being abandoned. Okay, so now as I grew, I was adopted at just before a year by my adoptive parents. What's interesting, my nickname became Little Me Too. I was a child who was always saying, me too, include me. So it's really very fitting, isn't it? You can see how that sensitivity, that wanting to be included showed up. So how does that impact today? Well, it can have a tremendous impact. If that sensitivity has not been addressed, then my nervous system is going to be watching all the time on how I'm included or not. I believe there's a lot of people walking around with tremendous sensitivities. They're monitoring whether they're included, whether they're valued, whether they're taken seriously, are they right, are they given respect, and so on. If you have sensitivities to those kinds of things, then your nervous system will be also watching and anticipating for anything that could shock you or cause hurt, pain, or a feeling of insecurity. So I'd like you to think about a few questions. How often does the thought go through your mind of, it's not fair? Why me? I should have done that. I should have known better. Or a comparative thought where you compare yourself with someone else. He's smarter, she's funnier, he's sexier, whatever it is. When you get into comparisons, you will always lead to either a feeling of superiority or a feeling of inferiority. Comparisons are deadly, and yet they're insidious in our language and in our thinking. So I'd like you to start to pay attention to those kinds of thoughts. For a lot of people, they're almost automatic. You may know people who actually are coming from a place of victim on a regular basis. Or you may only step into victim in certain situations with certain people or certain topics. Maybe it's money. Maybe it's relationships. So what do we do about that? That's the question, of course, on people's minds. The first most important thing is to notice it, because you can't do anything about something you're not even aware of. So it's a wonderful practice to start to try and notice your thoughts and notice what you're speaking. That lets you know where you're coming from. If you find you're thinking or speaking thoughts that have some flavor of victim, then it means you slipped out of the present and gone into the past. And it's a younger you that is now operating and running your life. So is that what you really want? Can the younger you really solve the problems you're dealing with, handle the situations, parent, manage whatever's going on? The younger you is not equipped to do all that well, and it does not have the resources, the information, and the wisdom that you now have as an adult. So when we go into victim, we're always in the past. It's great to know that. So you want to now bring yourself back up to the present. So what can help you do that? Well, one of the best things is as soon as you notice that, stop what you're doing. Don't do more life from that place. Take a moment and take a breath and center yourself. Come back into your heart. For some of us, nature is a powerful way to connect with ourselves and our heart. So that's a great one. Step outdoors. For some people, listening to music. Put on just a few minutes of music and let your whole system come back into balance and into that place of open-heartedness. You know what will work for you. And if you don't, start trying out different things. Experiment with what really allows you to relax and feel more open. And lastly, if some of what I'm talking about seems very far-fetched, almost like impossible, beyond the realm, then I'd really like to reassure you it is absolutely possible to step from that old what I call constructed identity that's based in the past into your authentic identity and the present. You can do that, and you can live there on a day-to-day basis. So if this seems really hard to imagine for you, please be in touch with me. Let's have a conversation about how it can happen. Okay, that's it for today. Next time, I'm going to talk about how the past creates the life we really don't want. I look forward to hearing from you. I've loved the comments and questions that you have sent in. Please keep communicating with me. I look forward to it. Bye.